Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Unity 3D tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at a click to attack script, and there are a few prerequisites for this, and they should be put in the start of the video. So basically what I'm going to do is explain how I got to this point, and I'm going to give all the scripts away to you guys and stuff like that, so you guys can take them, analyze them, and it explains more if I explain it, and then you guys can see it for yourselves and fiddle around and see how it works on your one. And feel free to use it. You know, I'm not one of those suey people because I'm not American. That is so offensive. Okay, we'll stick out of that territory. But this is basically the script. So what happens is we right click to move, and obviously we've seen this before, I've done all this before, but the next part is, of course, when we're in range and we right click the tower, it will attack the tower. When we're out of range and we right click the tower, stopped attacking it. So basically that's all we need. Another thing is the tower has a health script on it. And so if you look to the top left, you'll notice that it goes down every time I attack it, because it takes down 1 damage each time it gets attacked. Basically, I'm going to sit here and explain how we got to this point. Now, if you have watched all the previous tutorials, you should know by now how each of these work, right? So if I was to click the ground and I see this tag ground, we know what that does, right? Yes, because it's used for our click to move script. If we right click the ground, it moves our character. This tower one is different, okay, because we've just recently added it. Now the tower, of course, does not look like a tower, it's just a cube, but it's got some important stuff on it, such as a photon view, because there will be a bit of networking involved. There's also a health script, which you've seen before, I've done that before, and there's also the tower tag, very important, that one, and also the box collider is also quite important. Basically, we want to make sure that the photon view is observing the health. Not for any particular reason, just because it's common courtesy. I don't know. I was just making this up as I go along. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, and then we've got our player script over here, right? So if we drag that, drop that in there, no point in doing that, we'll just observe it from the editor. So what happens is we've got no tag on our player, but we will eventually have it, because the click to attack script can be applied to players as well, and I will do a separate tutorial, because attacking players is slightly different than attacking towers, right? Towers are stationary, so it's kind of easier to get to the point that we want. However, players do move a lot, right? Obviously, because that's like part of the game. And when they move, you want to follow them when you attack. If you're out of range, you want to be able to follow these characters. So I'm going to try and replicate that sort of League of Legends dotery thing. But until then, I'll just give you guys this one. So our player obviously has all the stuff that our click to move player would have, right? We've got a send movement script and a receive movement script, and a photon view, of course. And then we've also got a projectile, right? The projectile that we're shooting, and all of these are in the resources folder because they're being instantiated, some of which are over a network and some of which aren't. You'll notice that the projectile doesn't have a tag, and it also doesn't have a photon view. That's because sneakily what I am really doing is actually, I'll get out Paint and explain it to you. Alright, so this is the most professional editing software we got here. Anyway, so basically what we're doing is we have one player, right? And we want to make this guy shoot the tower, right? And so basically all we need to do, really to be explained, is we got to have this guy call upon himself to a receive movement script. Remember, if we look at the scripts, the receive movement script is public, and the send movement script is private. So basically, when we instantiate this character, right, our send movement script, of course, is only applying to ourselves, because we're the only ones who want to control ourselves, right? Well, at this point anyway. And so when we send to the receive move script, it's sending to everyone. So if you've got, on this player's screen, it's got these two. On this player's screen, it's got the exact same two, right? So what happens, the receive movement script is shared, right? Because there's one photon view on each one. So if this guy's going to send to everybody, including himself, hey, instantiate a bullet. So what would happen with that? would be that on everybody's computer, synchronized, everyone instantiates the exact same bullet, and everyone's bullet does the exact same thing. It's basically a way to trick people into thinking that something is networked when something is not. And that is one of the key features that you kind of want to have when you're doing any sort of networked game or multiplayer game, is tricking people into thinking that they're playing a multiplayer game when really they're not. There's very few being sent through the network, right? And that's kind of what we wanted. So I'm going to explain from start to finish, from this point on. I'm going to explain how this all works, from step 1 to the final step, whatever. There's no steps to involve because basically all I'm doing is explaining, and I'm going to offer you guys these scripts for free. Just go to the paste bin in the link in the description. Also, be sure to check out our Discord channel and stuff like that, because the only reason I'm doing this tutorial right now is because somebody requested on Discord that I do it. Right, so we'll start very shortly. Excellent. Okay, so the first thing we want to know is that we already have the click to move script, right? And that is all of this chunk right here, right? That's this chunk. Remember, the right mouse button, input.get mouse button down, and 1 because 0 is left click, 1 is right click, and 2 is the middle mouse button. Okay, and so when the right mouse button is clicked, right, it's going to do the raycast. And of course, if we hit the ground, we're going to move, okay? But we're going to attack this time. So we've got if physics.raycast ray, out hit, and hit.transform.tag is equal to tower, right? So if we hit a tower with our right mouse button, then it's going to perform the following, right? Instead of sending our player to a spot, we're actually going to attack, right? And so the attack function is here. Sorry, the attack function is here, but we call the attack function here, right? And all it's got void attack. So we need two things. We need where or what the hell we hit, and we've also got what object ID we've hit, right? Because Photon View works differently. Through a network, you cannot actually send game objects, right? Because it's impossible. No two computers have the exact same game objects. So you have to send the Photon IDs, because the Photon View is the only thing that's actually synchronized over the network to everyone's computer. So every time something is instantiated, as long as it's got a Photon View, basically other people can see it, right? And so we go, if the distance between this transform, right, so our player, and the hit point, so what we just attacked, is less than the attack range, then we'll instantiate a bullet and shoot the bullet. Because if it's greater, of course, then the tower's too far away, right? So that's very important there. Another thing is this ID here. This Photon ID is actually very important, and the way to get it is up here. All I've done is went and created an int called ID fetch, and all we're doing is fetching the ID from the hit.transform, and we're going to get the component Photon View, and then we're going to go .view ID, right? And that sends back an int of what ID our object has, right? So every time an object is instantiated, it has an ID. Every time an object has a Photon View on it, it has an ID. Basically, we call the attack, and we just put in hit.point to send to our function the place that we hit, and then ID fetch, we want to send what object we hit, because we need to send that through the network, right? We need other people to know what we're attacking, what we're hitting, what we want to do. And so what we do then is we come out, this attack script function runs, and then it grabs, similar to the way we send movement, it grabs our receive movement script, except this time on the receive movement script, if we go there, there's another RPC we can call, or function we can call, called received target, right? So that's all we've put in here, is that we receive the target, we're going to send that to all the computers, and then we're also going to send the hit point and the ID, just like we've put up here. So then over the network, everyone now knows what we're trying to hit and the Photon ID of what we're trying to hit. So basically, once we get here, of course, we've got the nav destination stuff, that's all movement, and we've also got this receive movement, that's all movement too. But now we've got this receive target, and in the receive target, we want to take a look at some of this stuff. So we've got instantiate projectile, this.transform, this.rotation. What's that doing? That's actually creating a bullet that's going to travel to our player, right? And so we're instantiating, we're creating a new bullet, and we want that to travel towards our player type thing, right? And so basically that's pretty simple. The projectile here is actually just a game object here, projectile, this little sphere that you can see right there. And basically all it's done is instantiating it, but now we need to give this bullet some information, right? Because we want the bullet to do something. So we got to give it a target. So we go mybullet.getComponent shoot.target equals point. So in our bullet we have a shoot script, and we've got a few variables here that we need to fill in. We got speed, we've got damage. Those two are very easy because let's say every bullet does the exact same amount of damage and has the exact same amount of speed. But we've also got an ID, and we've also got the target, which we don't have until we've right clicked, which means we need to set exactly what these things are. So we need to set the target, right? So the way we do this is go mybullet, which we instantiated right there. We go mybullet, get component, shoot, which is the name of the script, dot target, which is the name of our variable, and we want our target to be the point that we've just sent through the network to everybody, so everyone knows where the bullet is going, what trajectory it's going to go at, and how it's going to get there, and all that type of stuff. It's like, okay, sweet, we know where we're going. Okay, awesome. We also want what we're going for, right? The idea of the object that we're hitting and wanting to cause damage to. So similar, mybullet.getComponent.shoot. Get component and those little brackety things, shoot dot ID, right? Because remember up here our int is ID, we've got a public int there, equals ID, which is this ID, which is the ID we just sent through the network. Okay, excellent. So that's pretty much done. The receive movement. So now on everybody's computer there is a bullet. It knows what it wants, and it knows who's it trying to hit, who's it trying to deal damage to, but it's not doing anything yet, right? Because it doesn't know how to get there. So this is basically the bullet script, and all it's doing is teaching the bullet how to get to its location and what to do once it's reached its location. So if we go to the update function right here, now of course we just talked about all the variables. If it says if the target is not equal to null, right? So if the target is actually equal to null, which means that there's no target, right? Then we don't know what to do. So we got to make sure that we run this script when there is a target. So that's how we get that. And then we're going to run this.transform position equals the vector3.moveTowards, which is a function that basically does what it says, right? It moves towards something. And all it needs to run the move towards script is, in here, it wants your current position, right? So since we're on the bullet script, it's going to say this is the bullet's current position. This is where we're going, right? The target. Right, and the target is a vector3, so we don't need to write .transform.position because it's not actually a it's a vector3, not a transform. So we don't need to get its position, right? And then we've got speed, but we can change all of these in the editor. So that's pretty much how the bullet moves towards there, right? So now we've got a script where the bullet moves towards, but it doesn't do anything when it actually reaches the physical player. So that's what this script does right here. So we go if this transform position, right? Which means if our bullet is equal to the if our bullet's position is equal to the target's position, basically when it reaches its destination, what do we do? Okay, well, for the average person, we are going to destroy the game object because that's pretty much all you need. You just want to the bullet to go there and disappear, right? You just need a visual cue that the bullet is traveling. However, we want to deal damage as well, but we can't all call damage scripts at the same time. If we all call damage scripts at the same time, then we're going to have however many players there are dealing the exact same amount of damage all at the exact same time. So let's say we've got 5 players, then it's going to be 5 times the amount of damage, right? So 5 times 1 is we're going to deal 5 damage instead of 1 when we only kind of want 1. So we only want one person to call the take damage script, because remember it's being sent through the network and you don't want everyone sending the same thing through the network. So we've got here, if Photon network is master client equals true, which means if we are the master client, if we are the host, if we are the person who's running the whole show, then we're going to be the ones dealing the damage, right? It doesn't matter if you shot the bullet, I'm the one dealing the damage because I'm the master client. And this is very important because the master client, if is running the show, it makes it a lot more fair because everyone gets the same treatment. If you have a whole bunch of people running off their own networks and stuff, whoever has the best connection is actually the one who will win, because they've got the best reaction to everything, because they can see stuff before other people can and all that type of thing. So having a master client run it all makes it very fair, because it all runs at the master client's speed, right? The master client's network speed, not anyone else's. So, which is very good. Anyway, so if we are the master client, then we go photonview.find, remember the ID that we just sent to our bullet? So this ID now is the current ID of the target that we want to attack. And if we can call the RPC take damage, right? Because the health script has a take damage function, if you remember from back when we did the health script tutorial. The only difference between this one is that it's actually got PUN RPC on the top, which makes it an RPC, which means that you can call it through a network. That's the only difference. And basically, yeah, you just send it to all targets, so all buffered, which means that if people join later or if people don't get the network, it will eventually get that to them, because everyone has to have the same amount of damage, the same amount of health at all times for each player. And then we send the damage script through. This DMG is just a bit of damage, which I've just set to 1. Set to 1 right there. Alright, so that's basically it. I mean, it's really simple, and it's simple. But, sorry if my explanation is not good enough. But hopefully that, because I'm giving you guys all the scripts, you guys can actually take it and then you'll be like, oh, okay, I understand. And I'd love to hear that type of stuff. Anyway, so about Discord, the only reason I am doing this tutorial is actually because somebody asked for it on Discord. And so if you guys want to ask for tutorials and stuff, I wouldn't use YouTube. I barely, I read your comments all the time and stuff like that, but I prefer it if like you talk to me kind of more directly. It's a lot easier to answer your guys' questions and stuff, because if it's a tutorial not worth making, then I can just explain it to you right there, because I know there's a million health script tutorials and stuff. There's not many click to attack apparently, so I thought, hey, why not, you know? And basically that's how we do it. Tower health goes down, it all flies around. Yeah, I like it.